Hello everybody, Shinjoi here, and today on our tips for new players I'm going to be covering invasions and what invasions look like on the map. Now the map icons for invasions are fairly simple. These cross swords are different smaller invasion forces that are going to attack a specific wardstone. As you can see, the vast majority of these look like they are coming to attack Meridian. You'll also have various types of rifts that pop up. As you can see here, the rifts show you whether they're stable, unstable, how much time left is on them, because these don't have a time number on them. They're more than likely dealing with the invasion itself. You will have footholds that pop up in various places as well. As you can see now, we have mini bosses that appeared as a helmet with crossed axes. They show up here. Highlighting over them tells you the level and the name of that mini boss and shows you the direction that they're hitting. Main bosses will also have the same helmet and crossed axes icon. At the end of an invasion, the main boss pops up. You'll be able to see that on your map as well. And one thing to note, if you have an area, such as in the bottom left corner of my map here, that has not been revealed, you will not be able to see the forces or anything to do with the invasion in that area, except for the boss itself. You will be able to see bosses in an unexplored area, but you will not be able to see invasion forces. Now for this invasion, it appears like the death and water forces are fighting. You can see that the death forces have run into some water forces, and it looks like they are eliminating them as they go. And now we got the two big bosses getting ready to appear here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off and go check them out. Something I really like is that when you have movement, it looks like the map kind of fades back a little bit so that you can interact with things that you see from there. Now we have a raid going on. We're going to join the public group, enter the raid. For the main bosses, that sucker is huge. And it looks like they're fighting them. You can see the Wardstone self-defenses have kicked in and are working on taking out that mini boss. From the map itself, I can highlight over free march and it tells me what I got to do. Defend Meridian Gate, defeat the massive shade idols 2 of 2, defeat the massive tidal cords 2 of 2, defeat the Warden of Corruption, defeat the tidal destroyer. Invasions that you're going to run into at lower levels, minor invasions as they're called, generally have these objectives. Defend a certain number of wardstones. Obviously, one of the objectives for this one was to defend the King's Retreat wardstone. And that wardstone that's coming under attack is indicated by a red wagon wheel type circle around that town that is being attacked. So you'll have to defend a certain number of those, but remember, only one of those actually has to survive. That is on the objective. And the ones that have to survive will be indicated by a light bluish-white shield over the quest hub symbol on your map. Second part of a minor invasion is, and when I say invasion in this sense, it means an invasion of the zone, a zone-wide invasion. You have to defeat a certain number of the smaller invasions that are indicated by the cross swords on the minimap like this, with arrows showing where they are attacking. Once those amounts of invasions are complete, you'll also have the objective of closing a certain amount of rifts of whatever type is for that invasion. This looked like it was a water invasion, a minor zone-wide water invasion. So a lot of rifts would have appeared of various levels.
and you close a certain number of those, 5, 10, 12, whatever it calls for. Once all those objectives are complete, and they are objectives that are happening simultaneously, so it's not like you just have to defend a Wardstone, then you go out to defeat these little invasions forces, and then you close rifts. No, that's not it. All of these objectives have to be done simultaneously. So even after you defeat these smaller invasion parties, you still have to continue defending that Wardstone until you get all the rifts closed. So a good strategy to do is coordinate on the \1, which is your zone-wide chat. In this instance, I'm in Free March. Coordinate on that, asking if there are any raid groups getting together. If one's not, try and get one started up. And what you want is you want one raid or party to be defending one Wardstone. There's no need to defend all of them. You just remember, you only need to have one to survive. Defend one Wardstone. Then you have a party going around defeating these smaller invasion forces and closing rifts at the same time. Once all three of those objectives are complete, for most minor zone-wide invasions, then the boss will appear somewhere on the map. Generally, the boss will appear near one of the leftover rifts. So a good strategy to be would say, if you're defending at Elam Fields, that's the one you designated for defense. You don't want to close the rifts necessarily immediately around there. It might be good to give those forces a little breathing room. They can send a couple guys to close one or two of the rifts near there. But what you want to do is close those rifts that are farthest away from it, so that once all three of those objectives are met, of defending the Wardstone, defeating the smaller invasion forces like this water invasion, and closing the rifts, there's a greater chance that the boss will appear near those defending forces, and the group that had been closing rifts should have been working their way towards those defending forces, and that way the two can meet up pretty close to each other where the boss is and take him out. Now that's just one type of minor invasions. That's the most common type that you will see. There are other variations on it. For major invasions, that generally involves collecting various types of stones from defeating elites. The elites quite often will appear as a shield with the helmet and crossed swords or axes, but there will be a whole bunch of them all over the place. Once you defeat them, a stone will appear kind of hanging in the air where they were. You click on that, you receive an item that you have to take to one of two set points on the map, and those set points will appear as boxes. And when you get there, there will be some type of mechanical apparatus that once you get close enough to it, it counts as turning it in. You can also receive those stones from closing rifts, from defeating certain types of footholds. There are various ways. Generally, the number that you're looking for is 200 of those stones need to be turned in. Once that is done, and you've quite possibly defeated a number of the mini bosses around the map, or closed a certain number of rifts, or defeated a certain amount of these smaller invasion forces, or defended certain areas, not necessarily Wardstones in this case. There might be objects placed around the map that you have to defend from forces trying to destroy them, or that you have to activate. Once those objectives have been met, then the major boss will appear on the map, and you can move to defeat him. And just like the minor zone-wide invasions, the major zone-wide invasions vary themselves. It's not always going to be the same objectives. what you have to do is check on the right hand side where your quest objectives are for default, and you will see the zone-wide invasion objectives listed above them, so that you can keep track on what you need to do and where you need to go. Use a map to coordinate. It makes taking out minor zone-wide and major zone-wide invasions a lot easier. Communication is key quite often. Now, one key thing when you're defending Wardstones to know, and a lot of people don't realize this, is that the Wardstones themselves can be augmented using the Augment Wardstone ability. And what that does is heal and upgrade the Wardstone that it is used on. You have to actually target the Wardstone for it to work. That ability uses one planar charge, and you get planar charges by closing rifts to a maximum of 3. That's how you recharge them. And once a Wardstone is augmented a certain amount, you'll get 1 or 2 of these little objects on the side of it, which are basically like defensive lasers that when attacking mobs get close enough to it, it starts attacking them and doing damage. That's one reason why you always want to be fairly close to a Wardstone. Generally, this is about as far as you can go away from one and still have it operate its defensive capabilities. The other reason is you receive a buff called Wardstone Attunement. You deal extra damage and receive less damage from those invading forces. One thing I hate to see is people being well away from the Wardstone, taking out an invasion force that they're trying to protect. It can be a valid tactic, don't get me wrong. If you look at your mini-map and you see you've got invasion forces coming from 2 or even 3 different directions, and it looks like they're going to get there at approximately the same time, in that instance, I definitely agree. Move out to engage one force so that you're not swamped at the Wardstone itself, and then move back and engage those other forces that are now at the Wardstone. But otherwise, if it's just 1 or 2 smaller invasion forces coming in, 1 or 2 at a time, there's really no reason to move well away from an augmented Wardstone at all. This has been my primer on zone-wide invasions for new players. Hope it helped you out some. Please rate and comment the video, and have a good day. Enjoy rifting. See you later.